we're not. I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Vita and Chip and Culpy.
Alright, so it's a Christmas time. Christmas theme.
Yep.
Oh, come Emanuel, Rob Halford. I guess by now people are probably in the chat.
Yeah.
The little thingamajig.
Posted on our different talking forums that we talked to you guys on. We posted a link so you guys can get into a video chat. Hopefully it worked. Like, sometimes technical difficulties. But if you try to get in and you couldn't get in, only 50 people can fit in at a time. So, check in every here and there because it's going to change. People are going to inevitably head out and you can head in.
Right. So, shout out to Tina, by the way. Merry Christmas, Tina. Happy New Year!
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. So, we just did Rodney James Deal.
Yep.
And so this is the big homie Rob Halford.
Yes, it is. So
aside from Dio, who's my favorite vocalist of all time, this guy is known as one of the best vocalists in not just metal, period. Mm-hmm. End of story. So it's pretty. I'm pretty excited because I didn't know that Halford did a Christmas song or a Christmas record or whatever.
It makes sense though for them to do that. Because if you love a certain artist and then you want to hear, well, what would they do with those classic songs we always heard, Right. I like it.
Okay. So let's check it out.
All right.
come, Emanuel, let's go.
We're expecting great things. Go.
Oh, come, Emmanuel.
Why? Oh, you were going. You wanted. You wanted the.
I
The
did.
Halford.
And I thought he was gonna do it at the end when he started doing the rejoice. I thought that's where he was gonna go. I'm like, it's gonna go up, and then it didn't.
Yeah.
How did you
Rejoice,
know?
rejoice, the Son of God, rejoice. Huh? Well, I mean, it's Halford. So once we got like converted to his vocal style, we started looking for it all the time.
I know.
I bet you anything, like he's tired of that. I was watching an interview with Michael Jackson one time, and he's like, he'd go to a club and just hang out, and people would be like, "Yo, do the moonwalk," blah blah blah. He's like, "Bruh."
I don't want to do the moonwalk.
Yeah. So there you are. So I guess that would be, you know,
Yeah.
how Halford feels
Yeah,
about it. He's like, I
probably.
don't want to do that. I want to be subtle. I want to be a little incognito. So there's that. So what?
Yeah.
So you didn't. So were you waiting? Were you like being
I
held
was.
hostage?
I was.
You're being held hostage by the.
I really was.
the
That's
thing
kind of
that
how. That's kind of how it felt.
Check my vitals. Being held hostage. That's a song that'll never get reviewed because nobody cares about that band, but I love them. Okay. So come Emmanuel. That's what is Day 9-6, right? He shall be called Emmanuel. Mighty God, everlasting Father,
Yeah.
Prince of
Yep.
Peace.
Yep.
So
Everlasting Father.
Emanuel means God with us. God is with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because it's talking about captive Israel, because the concept of exile is one of the major biblical concepts. You know how I say we only tell 2 or 3 stories?
Yeah.
The exile story is one of them, which is you were at a certain place, and then because some crisis happened, you were cast out, or you had to leave that place.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the time of Isaiah and Ezekiel, they were exiled to Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
That they had to leave Israel, their homeland, and go to Babylon.
What's the difference between a dispersion and an exile?
A dispersion is when everybody's just like out into the wind. That's like the 4 corners of the earth. Whereas exile is you're going specifically
From
to
point
Babylon,
A.
or specifically to Assyria, or specifically to Medo-Persia, etc. So that's one of the
That's
main.
weird. That's not what I would have expected. So with slavery, when we went over there and took you guys and brought you over here,
Yeah, so
we were exiled.
the Black Israelites and the Louis Farrakhan, all those guys, they refer to that as
Exile.
exile. Yeah, they refer to
Weird,
that
because
as
to
our,
me,
as
I
our
feel like
exile.
exile is you've been sent away. Not that you could be taken away, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but the Babylonians took them away. But the theology is that God did it, so that so you're out.
Yeah.
So, it's a very, very biblical, universal concept of that.
Yep.
And so the concept of Emmanuel was God is still with you in the midst of your exile, because a lot of people were locational with their gods.
Mm-hmm.
So, hundreds of times he's called the God of Israel.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out in Israel.
Yeah.
And you guys, if you want to worship Babylonian gods, well, then go over to Babylon, see how that goes. And that's kind of the idea. That was the idea. But then it's basically God saying, yeah, but I'll follow you over there. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to leave you alone in Babylon. I'm going to go and be with you. Mm-hmm. Even though, you turned your back on me. And I said, I'm going to send you over there. And he does, but he's like, yeah, but I still want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
You know how God is in the Old Testament.
Uh-huh.
He does all this stuff,
Yeah.
and then he's like, yeah, but...
Yep.
So, it's just one of my favorite themes of all time is that God would come with you in the midst of your exile. What's interesting is that the Dio song we did was Comfort and Joy, Tidings of Comfort and Joy, and then this one talks about lonely exile, like loneliness, which of course Christmas is a very lonely, sad time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you'd figure it'd be a lot of,
Yeah.
but here we go. We're talking about mourning lonely people and God being with them.
Yep.
And, I know. Not a lot. Most of you don't believe what we believe, but we it's our prayer today, at least for you, that you would have some comfort and joy, and that God would visit you in your loneliness.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because the type of Christmas that is sold to the general public is that, you know, the whole, you've got family, you know, there's the, you know, like what, just the commercials that we'll see. There's like holiday stuff, the people are all together, there's family, there's gifts, there's festivities and stuff like that. And so when you paint that picture of what Christmas is supposed to be, and then you have people that are lonely or people that are separated from their families or whatever, like that story doesn't help them. But if you look at this and what the actual traditional, and we understand that Jesus wasn't born on Christmas Eve, like December 25th, you know, but the story that we're celebrating
Jesus
is still
probably born on September 11th.
I thought April. I thought we had talked about that.
I'm about 90% sure that he was born on September 11th.
But if people had this like correct version of what it's all about, then like this would help people. Like it's actually not about having all your family around you and having loads of gifts and, you know, all the perfect festivities for the holidays. It's actually about a people that were exiled away from everything that they knew, brought to another place, and then God meets them there. Right.
That was the point of the term Emanuel.
Yeah, because so like that's it. Like if you feel exiled or you feel alone, like that's the whole point of Christmas, is not the presents or the meeting up with your family, but it's that this is like the perfect opportunity where God could meet you.
Well, yeah, and if you look at Isaiah and Ezekiel, it starts at the beginning of the story, they're in exile, right? And then later on it explains to you how the exile happened, what happened, and the priests were doing idolatry in the temple, they were worshiping other gods, and God goes, oh yeah?
Yeah.
And God progressively starts to leave. Mm-hmm. So he starts in the temple, then he goes above the temple, then he goes, you know, outside of the temple, then he goes outside of the gate of the city, and then God is gone. So he leaves them, and then the Babylonians come in and take them away. But the last three words of the entire book of Ezekiel is Yahweh is there. Those are the last three words. So God comes back, he brings his people back, and he settles back with them. And so Ezekiel has this grand story arc of, you know, sin and exile and this great drama, and God says, I'm leaving! Hang out in Babylon! Tell me how you like it! But that's Christmas, is that Yahweh is there. Mm-hmm. And then So Ezekiel is telling the people God's going to come back to your city, and then Isaiah is telling them with Emanuel, God is going to come back to you. God is with us in a personal sense. So it was important in the ancient Near East for God to be in your city because then He could protect you. But it was also important for God to be with you personally because you had a personal walk with Him. So yeah, I mean, this Christmas song is like heavy on theology.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But I remember being a kid. We talked about this like once. Like, I remember being a kid and like feeling, you know, just moody and sad at Christmas. There's like one specific after Christmas. Yeah. There was. I mean, eventually I didn't even have the Christmas spirit. Period. I was kind of
Christmas spirit.
Yeah. After a while, I just lost that Christmas spirit. Period. But there was a time when I was a kid when I'd have like and maybe they're related. There'd be this big build up Christmas, and then I remember one specific time I'd gotten my Power Rangers outfit, I'd gotten my Nerf guns, I'd gotten my video games. I was in my room playing, and I just like, ugh.
Oh yeah.
Like this crazy empty feeling, and I didn't even go to my mom, which my mom's usually my go-to for that stuff.
Yeah.
But
you just kept it to yourself.
Yeah.
I kept it to myself too. I remember probably my favorite gift, or the one that I remember the most, was, and maybe this is why I liked it the most, was because, or maybe the reason it stuck in my head is because of the memories that followed. We had Christmas as usual. Christmas Day rolled around, and I got it was a talking parrot. Like it was like it was actually like, in my opinion, it was ahead of its time. It was like this big, and it would repeat back to you what you said, and you could have like 2 secret phrases that would like stay stored inside of it. And like, they got me that, and then they got me like this little game that was like Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or something like that. And there was only one game on the device. It was like a big device with one game, you know what I mean? But anyway, like I remember like being so excited before I opened my gifts, opening them, loving them, and then Christmas morning being so depressed. And like I remember thinking, I still
Christmas
have my
morning or after everything was open?
it would start going down the minute I knew that as the gifts were dwindling, I could feel it diving lower.
Yeah.
And then once the last gift was open and it was just the wrappers everywhere and stuff, like I started feeling meh. And then it was time for bed, and then you woke up and Christmas Day you felt all. Then my parents would go visiting our great uncles and great aunts and stuff like that, and I just remember carrying that feeling of like low and ugh. But I never talked about it either. I just kept it in. You know, we need to be conscious of that. Our kids are probably going to feel that this year. We need to be
Yeah.
And Sayla will be with her dad on Christmas Day, so that's going to make them more sad.
Yeah.
So we got to be conscious of
Good times.
that.
Merry Christmas, y'all! What did you get this song?
You're going to hate me, but I have to give it a 7 because I'm so disappointed that he didn't go up.
What?
Yep. Okay, I'll bump it to an 8, only because the words are very, very, very important, but I can't go over an 8 because he didn't do that noise. The noise. I call it noise, but yes, I like it. I wanted him to do that. Right there at the end, rejoice, oh rejoice, Emanuel, rejoice. That would have been perfect. Just take that to 10, man. I don't know. Anyway. What about you?
I'm gonna give this a 8.8. I think you did a good job. The Pentatonics did a version where the chorus that was Rejoice, Rejoice, Emanuel has come to you, O Israel. And I wish they would have done that version instead. So that's why I didn't get a 9.5.
What did they do instead? I can't.
They did Rejoice, Rejoice, the Son of God, Rejoice.
Oh,
Instead
yep.
of Rejoice, Rejoice, Emmanuel.
Yeah. Yeah, I see.
So, there you are.
All right, well, Merry Christmas, you guys.
Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.